Grab your tea. It's tea talk time where the topics are real, relevant, and relaxing. It's tea talk time, and here is Lady O.
Thank you, Tracy. And hello, everyone. I am so happy to be here, and we've got an exciting show today for you. So, as Tracy said, grab your tea, go and get somebody on, and share with them that we're about to have an amazing topic that they need to hear today. Now, today we're going to be talking about what's going on in Texas with our legislation. We have all been just at the TV watching the trial, the Zimmerman, Chauvin trial of George Floyd, and we have just been celebrating as best we can with the fact that all of the verdicts came back guilty. And we're just so happy and thankful to the Lord that to see that happen. As you all know, last year this time we witnessed a murder before our eyes, and it was just a horrific murder that lasted for almost 10 minutes in front of all of our eyes, our children, our families, our friends. And so it's just so wonderful to see that justice was served in that. On the other hand, it's sad to see that it took all of that and a video to be played the whole year to prove the fact that there are some things that need to be changed. So we're going to be talking about that. We celebrate and thank God for the victory, but we're going to talk about what now, what's going on in Texas. We know we have a George Floyd bill that's before us, and we're going to ask our state representative, and we are so thankful to have him because, you know, when we send these people to Austin and to Washington, you know, they can talk to us and meet with us, but then once they get there, it seems like we can't seem to communicate with them. But not my friend John Rosenthal. He is always there to answer any questions or to pick up whenever we want to meet with him. So he has graciously just decided that he would agreed to come on Tea Talk again and give us an update on what's going on with all the things that are going on, because I want to keep you informed. You know, if you can be informed, you can impact, you can change. But if you're uninformed, then you know, you won't be able to ever keep up with the rules because they change as quick as the next legislation goes in. And that's what we're going to be talking about, how quick these rules are changing. While we're grieving and while we're watching TV and watching the fights and watching the victories and celebrating, and in the street, legislation is continuing to be changed without us even knowing that it's done. By the time we figure it out, we're late to the game. It's already done. And we're stuck with the people that we allowed to get in there for another couple of years. We're stuck with the policies and legislations that they have created for us. And we never get better. That's why we cannot change things, because we can't get ahead of the 8 ball, as they say. We're always behind, being reactive rather than being proactive. So today I have asked him to come and share with us some things. We can't cover all of them, but I picked out a couple of them that I know you're going to be interested in. So as I said, go ahead and, you know, let somebody else know they need to hear this. We're going to talk about, you know, the George Floyd bill and all the policing and things like that, what's going on in Austin for Texans. We're going to talk about education, what's going on with education. The energy grid. I know many of you are still out there trying to get your houses back in order, and we still have some more things we need to do here for this energy quarter. What does that mean for our bills and the next time? Then we're going to talk about voter suppression and preparing ourselves for the future to go in ready and equipped to make it happen, because it is going to happen. I see it, that there is a change coming. And I know you want to be a part of it. Those of you that are watching me, make sure you get your questions in on your comments wherever you're signing in from on social media. Get your questions in on any of those I just talked about. And without further ado, I want to welcome my friend, our state representative for the state of Texas, 135th seat, I believe it's called. We want to welcome John Rosenthal. Representative, come in and join us, and welcome to Tea Talk.
Thank you so much, Lady O, for having me. And
yes, how are you doing?
Thank you for the kind words too. I'm doing good. I'm a little tired right now. We're in the thick of it during the legislative session. So
I know. We think after the voting is over, everything is cool, but now you're in for the work right now, right?
Exactly
So
right. Exactly right.
how long
And
do y'all work? What are your time frames for working in Austin?
well, the session starts right in the beginning of January and ends at the end of May. So it's just during that little time frame when we're getting work done. And for the
So
first few weeks, we're just in there a few days a week. But right now, 5 days a week, all day into the night, every day.
and so the May is the end of it.
May is the end of it. Now we'll probably have a special session, or maybe more than one, because the priorities that you talk about at the opening are all extremely important right now, and definitely the issues of the day. But we still have not talked about redistricting, and we're waiting for the census data to come in. So probably that'll be in the fall when we'll have a chance to work with that.
Wow, my volume's going down. Pastor John, if you could get our volume up a little bit. I don't know if it's just my computer, this computer. So if you could get that volume up a little bit for a state representative, because we want to hear everything he has to say. So, well, great. Well, let's start off by the George Floyd, with this policing, and even when we had the great celebration, we have had, I think they said 6 killings of Black men by police officers since then. So I know some of them are controversial, but some of them are shot in the back and these kind of things. And I don't know what the state is on for Houston. But I know Angela Martin Greer here is with me, and Diana from TMO, and they've got the questions. We've looked at some things we want to ask you. So if you're ready, we're ready to fire a couple of questions at you and see what you have to say about it, since you know everything down there.
I'll try my best.
Okay.
Hopefully
So we're
I'm
going to
ready.
start off with the George Floyd bill. So Angela or Diana, one of you all, would you ask the first question, please?
Certainly. Hello, Representative Rosenthal. The first question we want to ask you is, what is the likelihood of the bills that are before the House and the Senate right now of passing? And that would be HB 830 through 833, as well as do you think these bills will get out of committee?
Okay.
Were you able to hear her?
I could hear, and I hope you can
Okay.
hear me. So first, we have a number of bills. They were all filed by Ms. T, our Democratic Dean of the House, Houston Representative, and Chairwoman Sanfronia Thompson. And I'm proud to have signed on to co-author all of these bills, but starting with House Bill 88 is actually the George Floyd Act, which is kind of an omnibus. It has a lot of pieces to it.
Okay, let me stop you just 1 minute. I'm sorry. I don't know if it's my audio alone, but please let me know, guys, on your part. Can you all hear? Because I can't hear. I turned my volume down, but I think I need to turn it up, Johnny, because it got worse when I turned it down. There is a feedback. I hear that.
I hear
I'm
you all
turning it
well.
down some more, but I still cannot hear. All the people that are on, if you'll make sure your computers are muted when representative is talking, that might help a little bit too. Let's try that, okay? You ask your question, then mute, and then let's see. Pamela Davis Duck says she's having audio problems, and Cheryl Johnson Foley said it is muffled a little. So that means
Okay.
our audience is not hearing as well either. So just kind of continue to work on that. We'll continue talking, but hang in there with us, guys. We're working on it. We're aware of it, okay?
Okay.
All right.
How about this? Is this any better? I moved a little closer.
Yeah, move closer to your computer. It's almost in your face, huh? That's good. You're looking good. Go ahead.
All right. So the George Floyd Act, the big overall piece of legislation, House Bill 88 by Sanfronia Thompson, who is a legend and one of our Houston reps, and I'm proud to co-author all of these bills. House Bill 88 is stuck in committee. It's pending. That means they do not have the votes to get it out. Now, this is in, let's see, it is in the Homeland Security and Public Safety Committee chaired by James White. And so committee members, you can be pretty sure the Democrats will vote for it, but maybe put a little heat on the Republicans in that committee. And now, so without the big overall bill, Ms. T, who's probably the smartest human in that whole building in Austin, also filed this bill in pieces in separate bills, House Bills 830, 831, 832, 833, and 834. And all of them, 830, 31, and 34, have all been voted out of committee and are with calendars now. So those have a good potential to make it to the House floor. And we can talk all about them. The one that bothers me is 833, still pending in committee. This is the one regarding use of first warrant arrest. They have not got that voted out. And that is exactly the George Floyd issue, use of force during an arrest. So we just need to heat it up for the folks on the committee and see if we can get them to report it out. We only have a couple of weeks to work with. We want to see this legislation get to the House floor.
Representative Rosenthal, is there a date by which things need to get out of committee?
There is, and I probably should have looked that up before we started. But really, in reality, there's an official date where we can no longer take up new business on the House floor, so we can only do things that are already in process. And the real world date on that is probably just a couple of weeks away. So it takes a little bit of time once reported favorably out of committee to where it gets into the calendars process. That's another committee that is responsible for deciding what pieces we will take up on the House floor for voting on. So between those two things, you're looking at about a week right there. And then we need to, make it a priority item to get on the House floor.
Well, I know if we go to the next slide, one of our suggestions for people who are interested in kind of pushing some of those bills that are still in committee is definitely to call the chair and the vice chair, and then also our Harris County area representative, Representative Harless. Is there anything else you would suggest in terms of like urging the committee to vote some of these bills out of committee?
Well, actually, Diana, you are right on the money, as always. If we just get a couple of Republican votes, we can get through that committee, because pretty much the Democrats will be on board. Anything Ms. T putting forward, you can count on most of us to support it. She's a force of nature, and we all revere and respect her. But if we can get a couple of our local reps, like you said, Sam Harless on there, I don't know if you know any of these other folks. The chairman is a good guy, James White, very interested in this criminal justice reform. If you can, let's see, the others on here are we may have less luck with. I don't know, Cole Hefner's a pretty level guy. We might be able to get him. But really, if we can just get a couple Republicans to vote for it along with all the Democrats, we can get it reported favorably out of committee.
Okay, how's it going, guys?
We're working.
All right, good. So we get all our questions answered on the George Floyd bill?
Yes, and Lady O, let me know if you want me to do a little bit of a highlight on this issue, on what's happening locally in Houston.
Okay, yeah, we've got time. Go ahead, Diana, do that.
Yes, well, so some of this is something that's obviously happening at the state level. At the local level, there's a couple of things that have already occurred in Houston and Harris County. So we already have a ban on chokeholds locally. There has been an additional restriction on use of forces, and then this fall there was also a cite and release program that was implemented, meaning that people would only be given a citation for low-level misdemeanors. So we were really glad to see that happen. We are actually expecting Mayor Turner to hold a press conference sometime this week to share what else from that mayor's task force will now be implemented. And so the things that we're, interested in kind of see where it's going to land is, will we be able to get a stronger oversight body with some staff? So far, Houston has one of the weakest oversight bodies in the state of Texas. So we're expecting to see at least 1 or 2 full-time staff members being put into place. We'll be getting an expansion of a mental health response team that we do already have in Houston, but that just is, it's not able to cover, the wide ground. And then there will be an announcement about a data dashboard that the city has been working on. So it looks like this week we'll have some big announcements, at least for the city.
Oh, wow. Well, we'll be looking forward to that. One of the things that I pray about with the policing is that we have something that's federally mandated. I mean, why can't we have a universal police structure and rules and guidelines? Why is it I have to worry about if I drive into another state, they have different laws than the other state has? And I think it's time for that because, back in the day, they would say, don't get caught after dark in certain states because they do things differently down there. They have their own rules, their own sheriffs that handle people a different way. And I think that's where I look at it with systemic racism and systemic policing, that the way that things have been handled as far back as the system was implemented with slavery and slave catching and the Jim Crow and all the other things that have happened, I think that it needs to be something that we have, everybody knows the rules are the same crimes, so same rules, so why are they different? So State Representative, do you think there will ever be or is a kind of a universal laws for policing and that we all have the same rules we abide by, so they won't keep changing them?
Lord,
Oh, you're on mute. Go ahead.
I said, Lord, I pray for that.
Because I think that's the only way we're going to get it straight. If everybody's able to make up their own rules, I mean, why are your rules different from mine if it's the same kind of people? And I think that's where we're having some discrepancies. And when you really look into policing, the way people have been used to policing their people, their communities, it's not been just, it's not been legal. So why would you not want it to be the same? Same training, same rules, same regulations, so we can all get this thing together. And I think this is a great time to do it. I'm praying very hard that with President Biden being in there and President Kamala Harris and those people that are put in place. That's why it's so important to get the right people in the right places, because if you don't have the right people there, you can want to change things, but you just can't because you have no power. They are our power. They are our spokespeople. So, okay, enough about that. Let me get off my little soapbox about that. But that's my prayer. So y'all pray with me on that one, that will happen. Let's look at education. What's going on with education? Let's see, Angela or Diana, who's going to take that one?
Yeah, well, I mean, we know it has been an incredibly difficult year and a half for, teachers, parents in schools. And so I know one of the things that a lot of people are talking about right now is this pending COVID dollars. Right now, we are looking at about $18 billion slated towards public schools. And these are the estimated amounts from that second and third stimulus package that should be allocated to our local school districts. So it's a lot of money. You can see almost $250 million for side care, for $1 billion for HISD. And the concern right now is that only 2 states in the country, Texas and New York, have not yet released these dollars to the school districts. And if you will see on the next slide, these are the kinds of things that the schools are needing that money for. They need it for intervention, for extended school day, for mental health support, and any infrastructure updates they may need for the school for safe return. So it is making it very difficult for them to plan for this. They don't know how much money they're going to receive, or if they receive the money, will some of those other dollars from their regular budget get supplanted? So I think probably the things that, when Angela and I were talking, we were most curious about is for Representative Rosenthal, like what exactly is the role of the legislature in getting these funds removed? And yeah, is there a way that we can ensure that, things don't get kind of, supplanted if they are released to schools?
Well, this is a good question. Hopefully you can hear me. I saw that I was muted. Am I on now?
Can hear you.
You can? Okay, good.
Hi, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Good. This is a huge concern for everybody, for people across the state of Texas, and for us in the legislature, because the way that the original CARES Act funding came through, it came through the governor, it came through the administrative branch. And we have seen what happened with that, governor and the commissioner of education, the commissioner of the Texas Education Agency for the state, basically absconded with a bunch of CARES Act funding, used it for their own budget purposes and supplanted appropriated funds that were in our budget. So that was very disappointing. And because of that, we in the legislature actually took some action on this. So people probably don't know, we just debated, we took up, debated, and passed the budget for the state of Texas through the State House of Representatives on Thursday, the 22nd. So that was our budget day. It was about a 12-hour debate and exercise, during which we brought 2 amendments to require that federal funding designated for schools be used for schools. And those amendments received either unanimous or near unanimous votes in the House. So call your senators, make sure that those budget amendments stay in, that require the governor to use that federal funding intended for schools actually for our schools.
You just said something there is to call your senators, and I want to that's one of the reasons for talking about what the issues are and what's going on, and understanding fully what's going on to see what can we do. So everybody needs to know who their senator is and their senators are for the state of Texas, and to get their phone numbers. I think those phone numbers are posted. If you go on Austin, you can get all their phone numbers. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah. So you can go to, like for us, it's house.texas.gov. I think for them, it's senate.texas.gov. But you can find on the website for the state of Texas, has all that information. It's all public, and you can call their offices. Also, you can just go to Google and type "Who Represents Me," and it comes up with a link for Who Represents Me Texas. You put in your address, and it will give you the name of your senators and your congressional representatives and everybody else, along with information for their offices.
Perfect. And that's going to be a challenge I'm going to have to each one of you all, that if I ask you who is your representative, you should know who it is, who are your senators. You should know those people just off the top of your head. I don't think it'll be a bad idea for you to write all of them. I don't think they would mind you writing them all or calling them all, just to let them know your thoughts as well, because they're like your neighbors, but definitely you need to know one-on-one the person, and they need to know you. How are they going to know you if you don't call them and let them know what you're thinking? Because when it comes time to vote again, we need to know how they voted, because then we want to make sure that our vote represents the people who are going to, to represent us properly. That's what we want and what we need. You said something there too that I think we talked about too, Angela, that sometimes in the end they get the stimulus money, but then they take money somewhere else and spend it somewhere else and put that money in there. So there's kind of like a bait and switch thing. You want to share something about that, Angela?
Sure. What that is a practice.
Get a little closer.
Sorry. What that is a practice they call supplanting the money. So the federal government will give us the money, and we already have certain dollars that are designated for education in the budget. And instead of them using that money in addition to what's already budgeted, they'll take the money out of the budget and replace it with the money we receive from the federal government. So say, for instance, there's $3 billion that's budgeted for a specific aspect of education. They would remove that $3 billion, put the $3 billion that we received from the federal government in its place, and then take that $3 billion and use it elsewhere in the budget to help balance the state budget. And that's what we don't want them to do.
So you parents, you advocates, you know, people that are in the community, you got to research that and make sure you understand fully what's going on, and then you can intelligently go and talk to those people who have the power to do this and who are doing it, and make sure they let them know, I know what you're doing and I wanted to stop, I don't like it, so that they will know that we're on to what they're doing. So this is what this show is about, informing people so they will know. Any other questions about education, guys? Okay, well, I just have one more thing I want to say about education. I think that we need to really, you know, as a former teacher, an educator, and a counselor in the public school system, I think sometimes we put educators as a hobby. I mean, we're professionals. We go to school for this. And so we need to be paid like professionals and treated like professionals. And I think that as a parent of 4 children and grandchildren, that I want that money to be put in that district to help make sure my school is clean, because the bottom line is I can't go and work on somebody else's job and my kids are not safe. The teachers can't come and teach your kids when they don't feel safe. So we need to make it safe for our teachers, the people that work in the schools. We need to make it safe for the parents, because we need to get these kids back in school. That's when the economy is going to turn around. A lot of these parents don't have babysitters and they want their kids to be safe, and they need to be safe. So I think we need to really put a little bit more effort and urgency on these schools of getting the schools back ready. Put that money in there, get the schools sanitized, get the teachers, whatever, and so we can get the economy back where it needs to be. And our kids deserve it. I mean, my little grandkids, when they finally went back to school, the socialization, they missed their friends. I mean, they weren't made to stay at home. And parents, we weren't made to stay at home with them, were we? So we need to have that, and that's all about our future. A lot of these kids are missing out on a whole year of schooling because of this. So I would just say the urgency from a mama, you know, one of these grandparents, and just a community service who loves public education, who loves children, that we want to make sure that we're speaking up. So Representative Rosenthal, is there anything you can say or talk to us that we could do to help in that area?
Yes. So first I'm going to say amen to everything you just said. That money needs to stay in the school. So the Senate, the budget has now been passed by both the House and the Senate, $246 billion budget for the state of Texas. And what's going to happen is they'll go to a conference committee to resolve the differences between how it came out of the Senate and how it came out of the House. So call your senators, call your reps. Let's find out who the conferees, the people on the conference committee are, and make sure that we know on the House side those amendments to keep the federal money in schools was near unanimous. So you know your reps on both sides of the aisle want to make sure that that happens. So definitely call the Senate, wherever they're going to be. And then I did see the question about what it's called when they replace the money. It's called supplanting. Supplanting. You do not want that. And then one last thing, something really good in this budget is the extra money that we got for schools last session in House Bill 3 has been continued in this Senate. That has been fully funded again. So while we didn't make ground like I would have hoped, we're not losing ground as far as the state side funding for our schools.
Well, that's good. That's good news. That's good news. And I guess the other thing about the supplanting, is that something that the school districts are doing, or is this the state mandate that it's been done that way?
It's the Texas Education Agency commissioner and the governor of the state.
TEA and the governor
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and I know the governor is an appointed position. I'm not appointed, it's an elected position. The TEA person, is that elected as well?
No, his name is Mike Morath, and he is appointed by the governor.
Appointed by the governor. Okay, I got it. Everything kind of links back to our governor.
That's right. That is the only person he has to answer to. He does not have to answer to you and me. He only answers to the governor. He does not even answer to the State Board of Education, which was a change that was made a number of years.
Are you serious?
I'm serious.
He's
as
TEA, but he answers only to the governor.
That's
I had to drop the pen on that. Okay. Okay, guys, you got your information, you got some work to do. Okay, let's go on to the energy quarter, because this thing here, oh my God, it made me so upset the way things happen. And some people died. I remember a little boy died in a mobile home because he froze to death. And I was here with my grandchildren. They come over for a Valentine's Day event, and we really like froze to death. No heat, and it was the coldest thing. And then when the pipes burst, it added insult to injury. Now our houses are damaged, and now you got the thing where the insurance company doesn't want to pay, the contractors are gouging us and linking us on and not doing a good job. And I still have things I need to do. My garage, I still need to get it together because of the freeze. So who's got the question on the freeze? Let's go with that one.
Yeah, well, I'll start by giving a little bit of background here. And Lady O, you are definitely correct that, actually Harris County had the most number of deaths related to the freeze. It's 200 and still counting.
200? Oh my God, I didn't know it was that many.
And then, in addition to the number, the 4.5 million people who lost power, the estimation is over $200 billion worth of damage.
Wow.
Just, more than Hurricane Harvey and Ike. And so the impact really was just massive. As many of you know, right, Texas is on a separate energy grid. It is, deregulated in terms of the cost, based on the market. And that, about a decade ago, there was a recommendation for a number of things to happen, but were never implemented, including weatherization. So there's a lot of different bills that have been filed. I think we've been trying to do our best to follow them. I'm just highlighting a few of them here that focus on, mandating weatherization, implementing some type of accountability to penalize companies that don't. And then I know HB 3460 was a bill, hoping to establish a grant program to aid families impacted by the winter storm. And I'll definitely am interested to hear Representative Rosenthal's, thoughts on the best bills to be watching. One thing that just came out recently on the next slide that I thought was really interesting, it was a study done by the University of Houston Public Policy Department, the Hobby School of Public Affairs. So it should be that, this slide here. And I know it may be a little bit hard to see, but essentially they surveyed people what they wanted in terms of policy changes. And as you can see with some of the numbers there, is that really both Democrats, Republicans, and people who identify as independent are almost in complete alignment with what they want to see. They want to make sure the energy grid is weatherized, that we have a reserve capacity, and that there is oversight over the weatherization efforts. And then on the bottom of those last couple of lines on that chart is that they agree that consumers should not be forced to pay for these things. And I just thought that was really interesting. That's there's actually a lot of bipartisan alignment in terms of the citizens on, the policies they would want to see happen. And so I guess the questions for Representative Rosenthal are there good bills that we should be following that are still, pending in committee? And then what is the likelihood that you think this is going to get addressed during the regular session?
Okay, so now we've opened up a big topic, and this is sort of my special area. So for those watching who don't know me well yet, I'm a mechanical engineer from the oil and gas industry, and I'm the only technical professional in the entire Texas state legislature. So I have particular interest in what's going on with this. And you're right, I think something like over 200 bills have been filed on this topic. Only a few are actually going to be heard and go through. The Speaker of the House created priority items, and you can tell which bills are the Speaker's priority there. House Bill, let's say 1 through 30, House Bill 2, 3, House Bill 11, House Bill 14, 15, like that. Those are Speaker priority items. They reserve those low numbers. So this is a real mess. I have been trusted by our caucus, the Democratic caucus, to coordinate our response on these bills, to try and ensure that what we pass will be substantive and will harden our grid. Because here's the bottom line in all this. I mean, you can find me on Facebook, and I just ranted all over the House floor. I spoke for 7 minutes about a bill that's going through that will not do anything. House Bill 14 is worthless. It literally does nothing but appoint a committee to look at something that's been looked at over and over. And I could talk about this subject for the rest of our time and maybe into tomorrow too. But let me just put it this way. We want to make sure that what we end up with at the end of the day addresses the problem. So right now, the bill to watch, I believe, is Senate Bill 3. Senate Bill 3 has the pieces in it to weatherize both electrical generation and natural gas production and transport, because those are the two big pieces of the energy grid puzzle. You need the fuel to turn the generators, and you need for the generators to operate. And so those two things need to be solid. Senate Bill 3 addresses both. It includes a part where there's a planning piece, so that plans have to be made to address the problems that we just saw. And there's an accountability piece where these folks, if they fail to either comply with their own plans or the next freeze, their product, whether it's power or fuel, becomes unavailable, they can be fined huge fines. Senate Bill 3 includes fines up to $1 million a day. And I'm hopeful that that's enough to get the attention of, electrical generators, oil and gas producers, to ensure that their product will be available the next time it gets cold here. My speech on the House floor, I think I've just submitted an op-ed for the Houston Chronicle, so I'll post that if it gets published. Hopefully it will, but it's the same. It's just me talking about this stuff. So of course, my focus as an engineer is on the technical aspect of it. But you also asked about the people of Texas who should be paying for these weatherization efforts. I believe the industry should. We're going to see, I believe it's House Bill 2000 by Hubrey. There's also a House, is it resolution or joint resolution? It's HJR 2 or something. But both of these, it creates a constitutional amendment that puts together a fund that's funded by you and I. They're going to sell bonds. It'll be separate from the state revenue, but they're going to issue bonds to finance a fund that will be used to offset the cost to weatherize facilities. So it'll be kind of a matching program. So it's not the taxpayers completely on the hook, but the idea is to incentivize industry, I think, to weatherize their systems. And I think my opinion is different. I think we should mandate it and make them pay for it. That is a cost of doing business. And I'll just say this for my little rant. The folks who will tell you that it's costly or burdensome on the industry, it's too much to do, blah, blah, blah. That is noise. The federally regulated grids all around us, we talk in the Western Interconnect, Eastern Interconnect, we talk in New Mexico, Louisiana, Oklahoma, Arkansas, all got cold just like we did, and none of it.
And that was a question that came in the chat, was that why is it that Texas is on its own grid? What is the deal? Is it just about the fact that so they can control the money? So they certainly could not control the power if they didn't have any power. And we're stuck with the holding the bag. So is it about the money being in that power?
So to me, under the guise of saying we here in Texas don't want to deal with federal regulations, and we know better than they do, we don't want to deal with, the feds in Washington and all that. The power grids around us that are federally regulated all stayed up and running while Texas failed. And here's the kicker. They'll tell you we have cheaper energy because we're unregulated, and that is completely false. We pay exactly the same rate as our neighbors in other states for a kilowatt. The only difference is industry pockets the difference. So at the states around us, industry went and made the investment to keep their stuff running when it gets cold. Here, they just pocketed that money and charge us the same for electricity. So it should be on them. Exactly right. Ms. Cynthia Miller Connor talking about greed. That's the bottom line right there.
So, so which governing body or person or department is over making the final decisions for this, that we have this energy grid? Who's over that?
Well, we're gonna legislate it. So we're gonna come out with some new law between the House of Representatives and the Texas State Senate. Hopefully Senate Bill 3 passes. I'm going to try to make it a little stronger. It's actually better than anything we've got in the House so far. But I'm going to try and work on making that a little bit stronger. And then it'll be for the governor to sign. The people who will be charged with making sure that this stuff actually works in real life. After we make the law, it'll go to the Public Utility Commission for the electrical generation side and the Railroad Commission for oil and gas production. So we'll make a law hopefully mandating a weatherization and accountability part. And then we'll have to have the Public Utility Commission and the Railroad Commission to make the rules that turn those laws into real world stuff.
Well, we certainly will be praying for the House Senate Bill 3 that it will pass, but I still am not, as a resident of Texas, I'm still not happy because I don't know why we can't be like everybody else. It sounds like to me that one day we may hear about this on the America's Most Greedy, because I think it's about being, I'm hearing some people in here saying too, Cynthia Connors, I see her, it's just greed. Just want all of it. I mean, I'm expecting for them to redo Monopoly and put the energy grid on there with the railroad companies, but it's just, and then, you know what I mean? It's just not fair in the end that we ended up losing so much. And, you know, when you have people paying their deductible, $4,000, they're throwing away all their food and they're losing so much. And then you got big, I'm calling them fat cats. I don't know if that's, excuse me if I'm talking about anybody that, whatever, but I'm just feeling that way, that it's greed. And the people of Texas really bit the bullet. And some of them bit it really bad with death. And some of them, I was driving through a community yesterday, houses are still falling in from the rocks, the roofs, and stuff out on the corner. It hasn't been picked up. So I'm like, what in the world? They really damaged the life. We were already suffering from the pandemic, already suffering from job loss and schools and education. Then boom, this hits. So I am praying for House Bill 3, but I'm hearing you say that's pretty much all we can do right now.
There's more, but this Senate Bill 3 is a strong vehicle. There may be a number of other bills that are good, and we can talk about that stuff later. But really, Senate Bill 3 has what we want, and it has the advantage of already being passed by the Senate. So that's all good. And I do want to let you know, that we're neighbors. I live right down the street from First Metropolitan Church off of West Road. I live behind Traders Village. And I was here when our Texas Senator Ted Cruz was flying to Cancun. I was here with frozen pipes and damage in my house that I'm still working on, trying to get my walls and my floors done. So I am right here with you all. I experience what you experience. And about it, and I'm going to be fighting to have the state remediate this stuff.
Right. Yeah, that was something else that him off to Cancun. And I think his position is coming up too. We need to really look and see how he's going to be supporting us. And if he can't support us, then we need to get somebody who can. His position is coming up when?
I
Does
think
anybody know?
2024.
24 next year. Is that right, Diana? I think Ted Cruz will be up for re-election in November of 2020. What are we in? 22?
He still has a couple of years left before he's up for election. Yeah, yeah. He will not be up for election next year.
Yeah.
2020.
20. Okay. Well, whatever the case is, I know he has some other things going against him with the participation in the January 6th thing and things like that he's been doing along with going to Cancun. So, it's just people like that we need to, if they're not representing us well, no hard feelings, but find something else to help you do whatever. But we really need the representatives to do what's best for the state of Texas, not what's best for, your group, the elite group or the greedy group or whatever. It's really affected us a lot here this past year or two. And I'm just really upset to the point that I want to know what we can do. And Deborah Frederick said, we definitely need Ted Cruz out. I'm agreeing. I mean, after what I saw this year, he got to go. He got to go. Okay, so with speaking with that, let's move on to our next section here, is voter suppression. Because one of the ways we do this, guys, is we got to register to vote. We got to know what's going on, know when we can do things to make changes and vote people out, okay? And so we don't want to start to the last minute trying to get people registered to vote. If you are within my voice and you have not registered, you can go ahead and register now. Don't wait. Start registering people and start getting yourselves ready to be proactive and not reactive. Because once they get elected, guys, then we'll be stuck with them for another 3 or 4 years. And in that, they start making all these laws and rules that change us that we get behind and we can never catch up. So we got to get that. So what about the voter suppression laws that are for the state of Texas? Who's going to take that one?
That would be me.
Okay.
What we're looking at now is there's House Bill 6 and Senate Bill 7, what they're trying to pass that have a lot of voting restrictions. Kind of summarize that here on the screen for you. The first point is they're trying to make it a felony for a public official to distribute absentee ballots to people who have not requested them. If you recall, during the last election cycle, our county clerk, Chris Harlesy, was trying to send out absentee ballots to anyone who wanted them, or actually just to anyone, period, who was registered to vote. So that way people didn't have to request them.
Yeah, it's the applications, not the ballot.
The application. Yeah, you have to send the application and then they have to send back for the ballot, which I
correct.
Yeah.
Correct. He also, in this voting restriction, they want to give access to partisan poll watchers, making it illegal to remove them from the polling places for any reason other than election fraud. They also want to require anyone applying for an absentee ballot based on a disability to issue a sworn statement that says that they are physically incapable of actually entering a polling place, where they're going to require all this additional documentation. And then also to make it so that countywide polling places will be the same not based on how many people are in that particular polling place, but so that each polling place has the same number of machines, which is going to, of course, impact more urban areas or cities at a disadvantage because they're going to need more polling locations and machines versus places that have a smaller population.
Mm-hmm.
So the questions that we wanted to present with Representative Rosenthal is there anything that can be done at this point to stop these bills? And are there any other bills that we should be aware of?
So these are good questions. First, this is obviously an egregious attempt to stop people from voting. Those partisan poll watchers measures they want to allow in, you missed the part that they want to allow them to carry guns inside the polling locations. I mean, talk about voter suppression and voter intimidation. Yeah, some of these measures here are just ridiculous, unbelievably egregious, and bringing criminal penalties for this stuff, where you don't have that much liability to shoot somebody, but heaven forbid you make an error on a ballot application. So yeah, House Bill 6 and Senate Bill 7 are the two pieces that are pretty bad. I think there are some substantive differences, but you get the idea. House Bill 6, I'm not sure if it's passed through committee and it's coming to the House floor. That committee was chaired by a Houston area representative named Briscoe Kane, one of the Freedom Caucus guys. This is someone who actually traveled to Pennsylvania to try and help overthrow the election there. And this is the gentleman that we've got chairing our committee. By the way, 0 Democrats from the Houston area are on that committee. So we have the largest city and the largest metropolitan area in the state of Texas, and no Democrats, nobody from the majority party in our city sitting on that election committee.
Well, who nominated that committee? How did the committee get to be put together?
That is the Speaker of the House who gets to decide who sits on what committees.
The Speaker of the House determines the committee?
Yes, ma'am.
And who's the Speaker of the House?
His name is Gabe Phelan from Wellman.
Okay.
So that, that's already done. And I don't know if they've voted the thing out. I believe they have. It'll hit the House floor, so your rep here is already going to oppose all that jazz. And I promise you the Democrats across the state will be fighting that when we debate it on the House floor. We're going to try and challenge provisions in that. We're going to bring points of order, which is a legislative maneuver to try and kill pieces of legislation. We're going to try to amend it to make it less egregious, and we're going to make that passing that as painful for the Republicans as we possibly can. Now, that said, we do not have the votes to stop that piece of legislation.
Don't have the votes to do it. They've got it, right?
That's correct. They only need 76 in the House. They need a simple majority. And they've got that within their caucus. It's a governor's priority item. So we also need to pray for some help from the courts and from the federal government, just like we were talking about before with police use of force guidelines and stuff like that. The federal government should step in and put in guardrails so that these states, particularly the southern states right now, cannot enact this type of I'm looking for appropriate.
I know you're looking for the word. The word is not there. Not a nice one, anyway.
Word I can speak in public. But this is horrendous, egregious legislation. We're going to fight it with everything we have, with our local representatives, our state people, and we're going to pray that the federal government will pass H.R. 1, and put a Voting Rights Act that puts federal guardrails in place.
Yeah, and that's more even when you say, he's appointed by this. We got to know who's appointing these people. And then the only recourse is to take it up to a federal judge or whatever. We got to know all the judges that have been put in place, who nominates them, who puts them, appoints them or whatever. So the thing I guess I would say, and Angela, I know you may have another question, but I'm just going to jump in here. Atlanta, Georgia has really shown us a lot. They're taking the leeway. They're taking the hits up front, but we really need the federal government to step in and do some things, because these states are kind of doing their own thing. And while we're sleeping, or like I said, mourning our loss, they're making these rules that it'll be voted on by the end of May, which is in a couple of weeks, which is too late to really do a whole lot about it. So I'm understanding that what they have are set aside for us, which is suppressing our votes, is already a done deal, and they know it too. And so we just got to figure out how we can best do the next best thing. So what is it that we can do, or would you think that we could possibly suggest to our people who want to do something about this?
Oh, we can protest. We can light up the phone lines in the offices of the representatives and the senators, as well as the governor of the state, and the Speaker of the House is Dave Phelan. I saw a comment in the chat about Dennis Bonnen. He was the Speaker last session who chose not to run for re-election. So the new Speaker of the House is Dave Phelan from Beaumont. And,
Okay, very good. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, we need to light it up with the big three: the governor, the lieutenant governor, and Speaker of the House.
Right.
These are all Republicans. This is the state leadership, and they're the ones pushing to do this.
Okay. And, you know, and I do know that TMO and some of the other groups have protested, you know, with peacefully, of course, at the Capitol. And I think by the time we get a protest together, it's a done deal. So I don't know when would be a time, because you guys will be gone after May. So when are y'all coming back? And I mean, everything's done after the end of May anyway, right? So if we want to protest, when would be a good time to protest something like that?
Well, I mean, now is a good time.
Yeah.
So we'll look for that House Bill 6 to hit the calendar, and you will have a notice of at least 5 days when, because that's the rule, I think, for a calendar item. It has to be publicly posted 5 days in advance of the hearing. And so it's appropriate.
That's crazy. 5 days in advance does not give people, I mean, you know, 5 days in advance is not enough time to kind of drop everything you're doing and run up there, which some of us can. But if we want to get a big crowd together, it's like, that's not a lot of time.
No, and it takes weeks if you want to assemble buses and send a whole bunch of people up there, you know, arrange for food, and some people may want to stay or whatnot. I mean,
Yeah.
You may not be able to be there in person, but you can call the representatives' offices. And I will tell you, in my office, when we get a whole bunch of calls on one topic, there's a lot of buzz in the office about that. You know,
yeah. Let's get those phone calls going, get those letters going everywhere. I would just like to say again, my whole wish and my prayer is, and I used to say I don't understand why. Now I understand why. That I think the federal government needs to have a mandate for voting. I don't know why everybody who has a driver's license or a social security number cannot get something in the mail that they can do absentee voting. I mean, we have our monies secure. Surely we can do something like that. But it's almost like they don't want people to be able to come there to vote. They want to make it hard, because if I'm working, if I got 5 kids, I can't take off or whatever, I can't get over there. Like they had one group that said from 9 to 5, who can get to the polls before 9 o'clock, after 9 o'clock and before 5 is over? You got to be at work, and they know that stuff. So I'm hoping and praying that they'll, with Biden in there, let's pray for him, and Kamala Harris, the group that they have, that they can make some changes, that it should be federally mandated how you vote. And they can stop the long lines by letting them just vote online. I mean, it's an easy fix, but I know why it's being more complicated and difficult, because they don't want it fixed. They want to control and manipulate it so they can cheat. So that if this works, then they change the rules and fix it where, let's try these. Even the protesting, the things that they're saying now, you can get in trouble for illegal things. And Angela was saying we need the federal House Bill 1 to pass. We need to pray for that. So I think this is really a time for us to pray, protest peacefully, right? And we need to know. We gotta. So my people perish for lack of knowledge. We want to watch all of these other shows that have nothing to do with nothing, while our lives are literally being turned around and snuffed out for our future, for our children. So, so anyway, I wanted to kind of give Angela. Did you have another question? Right, quickly. We're going to go over a few minutes, but anything else with your particular one?
Yes.
Voter suppression. Go ahead.
Yes, actually, I did have one last question for Representative Rosenthal. we're talking about writing and contacting the governor and lieutenant governor. Who do you think has their ear? Who would be able to influence them that might be willing to weigh in, like a corporation or different organizations, key business members, or community leaders?
That actually is a really, really good point. I'm so glad that you brought that up, because it's not something I always think about, but you are right. The people who fund their campaigns have their ears. And the people that bring all this commerce, all this business, all this activity to our state also do. So we are talking about, the NCAA and all their athletic events that we would have here in Texas. Some of the major corporations that are housed here. The oil and gas companies are massive contributors and big time movers and shakers in the Texas government. These are all folks, especially working for these companies, implore them to enact, to push our elected leaders to enact fair policies. Texas is already the hardest state in the union to vote in, and they are working very diligently to make it even harder. And you know who that's hardest on. It's not hardest on people like, me, living in nice neighborhoods and driving around nice cars, and I can take time off work to go vote. It impacts the people in our cities and in our lower economic structures and the underserved and the challenged communities already.
Working moms.
Working moms and
yes.
People with 2 jobs and 3 jobs just trying to put food on the table,
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
well,
yeah, your big corporations, your big event folks, the NCAA, the National Football League, all these people bring a lot of money into the state of Texas. Folks who can lead the government.
Well, guys, we saw a miracle through Biden and Kamala Harris. That was nothing but God, and He used a few people who were willing to get out and do the work, and those votes really count. So at the end of the day, it all is going to stem down to do not let them steal your vote, and so we got to work harder. Because of they're working harder to keep us from voting, so we have to work harder that more. And it can Stacey Abrams and all that group, they're working hard, so we can do it. We're just not going to sit back and relax and let them do that. So I want to just thank State Representative Rosenthal for coming to talk to us, spending this time with us, and apologize for the internet. I don't know what was going on some of the different internets were not picking up, but you were most helpful to us, and that's what we want to know. We sent you up there with the votes. Now tell us what's going on. Speak for us, and that's exactly what you did. I want you guys to remember this as well, too. State representatives, his particular position comes up every 2 years, and it's very expensive to run. It's very time-consuming and strenuous. So we need to make sure that we keep him in office, because when we keep him in office, then we're in the office. You know what I mean? He goes for us, and then he comes back and talks to us like we matter now. Not that we matter when we need to vote, but we matter now to inform you what's going on and what you can do. So you have been a blessing to us. And I want to thank you, and thank Diana from TMO and Angela Martin Greer for getting those questions together. And the PowerPoints, it was very informative. I tell you, the devil didn't want this to happen because there was so much interference, but I think the people got the gist of it, and we will continue to do that. So Diana, or did you have something you wanted to share before we, are you planning a rally to go up to protest with TMO? Let us know.
Yes. Anybody who wants to go to Austin, us and our sister organizations, will probably be there most every day the next 2 weeks for sure. So, and then we're happy to send out some additional action alerts so that people have the phone numbers of the right committees and people to call.
Right. We will do that. And the team that I'm getting together for next year, like I did last year, the theme I've already told the ladies that we won't forget. We're not going to forget about this pandemic. We're not going to forget about the people who died senselessly in a freeze so that people could be greedy. We're not going to forget how our children have been just tossed around like nothing in the school systems. We're not going to forget all of these things that are going on, the voter suppression, the things that have had happening. We will not forget. And when you don't forget, then you stay actively involved in making sure that change happens. So that's it for today, guys. I really appreciate everybody that came on. I think we have some great PowerPoints here. Go back and review them. Share this with about 4 or 5 people. Tell them, don't worry about the little blurb in there with the internet. You need to listen carefully to this over and over again. And Cynthia kind of says, do you want our emails? And definitely, I would love to have your emails, especially if you're interested. Send it to lady@firstmed.org. And I will, because I would like to pull together, and I'm pretty flexible this week. I might have a day too if we can go up there and do some protesting. So let's get it together. We don't want to just talk about it. We want to be about it. Okay. So listen, thank you for joining Tea Talk this week. Thank you, Representative Rosenthal. And let's get ready, get busy. Don't forget, but go ahead and be active about making some change about what it is we know now. So listen, I'll see you next week on Tea Talk at 3 with Lady O. For that, we're out.